It is astonishing to me that Democrats still can't figure out why they keep losing. They are incredible losers and they don't know why. Well, I'm here to explain it. My name's Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. You know me as a scientist. I'm the director of CWC Labs. I'm also the editor of NaturalNews.com and a Donald Trump supporter, as you can see from my shirt. Isn't this cool? Beat ISIS, build a wall, care for veterans, fix health care, protect the Second Amendment, and more. I'm going to bring in a metaphor to talk about natural selection, because really you might call this talk political Darwinism or political survival of the fittest. Might be a better way to say it. If you look at any kind of species in the wild, whether you're a naturalist or an anthropologist or just an observer of natural sciences, you notice something very interesting. And this is true whether we're talking about bacteria in a petri dish or a species of trees or ferns or grass or deer, antelope, cats, dogs, whatever. The ones that tend to survive and reproduce and become more numerous on our planet are those species, and specifically the individuals within a group who are, number one, adaptable, resilient. In other words, they can overcome obstacles. They are strong. They are not snowflakes. They are not weaklings. They are not pathetic. They are strong, adaptable, and they are able to achieve the goals that they set out, whether that goal be survival or finding a mate, reproduction, finding food, all these kinds of things, protection from predators and so on. So this is true, again, whether we're talking about, wallabies in Australia or armadillos in Texas. It's all the same. Now, these principles of adaptation and survival of the fittest exist not only in the realm of the natural world and basically every ecosystem that there is on the planet, they also exist in the political realm. Now, in the political realm, you have, extinction or death, meaning the political failure, the ending of someone's political career or the demise of a political party. Whereas success is the advancement or the multiplication of political ideas or an increase in the number of people who carry those political ideas and beliefs. So if you look at why Democrats really lost, it's because they became complacent. Well, let me back up. They lost the election, they lost the recounts, they lost the electoral college vote, they lost the White House, they're going to lose the Supreme Court, they've lost the House, the Senate, they've lost governorships and mayorships, if that's the right term, all across America. That is, and state legislatures as well. So they have been losing and losing and losing, basically retreating to the West Coast and the East Coast and living in their little bubbles that, frankly, now most normal people consider the narratives of the left to be, frankly, mentally ill. It's not just that they disagree with them, it's that the left appears to be absolutely insane, completely disconnected from reality. Now, how did they get there? Well, here's the answer. They were so successful that they became complacent. They got lazy. They started to have an entitlement mentality. I mean, you can't find a better example of that than Hillary Clinton. She said she was, well, I don't know if she said it directly, but she implied that she was entitled to be crowned, the Queen of America, essentially, to have the White House. She approached the election, and her team did, by rigging everything, cheating constantly. They rigged all the delegates against Bernie Sanders. They cheated Bernie Sanders. He actually probably could have won the election. They rigged everything. They rigged the debate questions. CNN was giving them to the Democrats ahead of time. All the WikiLeaks emails that came out on John Podesta, which were leaked by a Bernie Sanders supporter, by the way, not the Russians, those showed an incredible amount of collusion and corruption inside the system. All along, Hillary Clinton perceived herself as already deserving of this power, but not having to actually earn it. You see, that's a sign of a group or even a political philosophy where they've forgotten how to work hard. They've forgotten what it means to adapt and overcome, or even interact with the general public. They've lived in their elitist bubbles in Washington, D.C., and they've forgotten what middle America looks like or talks like or thinks like. So they've become disconnected. And they had no, what we might call, predators in the natural world. You know how a deer population becomes stronger and faster and more resilient when there are wolves or coyotes or other predators trying to eat and kill the deer. This is called predation. There's a powerful dynamic in every natural ecosystem between the predators and the prey. And it is this dynamic, you need both of them to have strong species on both sides of this equation. In other words, if you take deer and you eliminate the predators artificially, then the deer, they don't become stronger, they become weaker and more diseased and more pathetic. They become, you might call them generation snowflake deer. And they die because they don't have to overcome anything. They're not challenged, you see. They don't have to be smart, they don't have to flee predators, they don't have to be strong, they don't have to leap over gaps to escape predators, nothing. So they become weak and pathetic. Generation snowflake deer. So that's exactly what happened with the Democrats in the political realm, in the political ecosystem, you might say. They became weak and pathetic because they were given every advantage. Everything was rigged for them. All the journalists were already calling them amazing, even when their ideas were just complete lunacy. They were given credit for things they never did. I mean, just listen to the way the media fawns over Obama every time he speaks. They talk like he's some kind of genius. He's not. He's an economic idiot. He doesn't know how to create abundance. He doesn't know how to make America great again. He doesn't know how the world really works, or if he does, he's actively working against America then. But I think a lot of it's just incompetence. I don't know. We'll see. But the Democrats became lazy and complacent. They thought they'd won the election. In fact, that's what they kept telling everybody in the media, and that's what CNN was reporting constantly. Oh, Hillary's already won. Basically, they were saying to Democrats, you don't even need to vote because we've already won the election. It's over. They were saying this in June. They were saying it was over. And they were saying it, basically for the last year and a half before the election. But meanwhile, Donald J. Trump was out working hard. He was doing 3 rallies a day. He was flying from state to state, city to city. He was strategically targeting the Electoral College because that's how you win the presidential election in these United States of America. It's not a popular vote contest. It is determined by the Electoral College count. And so that's what he targeted. Kind of makes you smart, doesn't it? He played the game the way, well, maybe played's not even the right word. He pursued the strategy that determines the winner, and that's smart. And Donald Trump, you see, has had to fight for every inch of publicity because he's been relentlessly attacked. In other words, Donald Trump has had to learn how to overcome and how to be resilient and how to be adaptable and how to outthink the predators in the mainstream media who are like the wolves that are always coming out to kill you because they don't want people like Donald Trump to ever become president. So what they did, in essence, all of these assaults and this pressure on Donald Trump and Mike Pence and basically everyone in the Republican Party has created a strong group of individuals who are expert political survivalists, you might say. They know how to overcome adversity. They know how to outthink and outmaneuver their opponents. They know how to get more done with less money. This is the outgrowth of what I call political survival of the fittest or natural selection or Darwinism in the political spectrum. So contrast the two parties now. You've got, let's say, Democrats on one hand over here. That's my left hand, so that's why I'm choosing this one. Democrats over here and Republicans over here. Democrats have become lazy and complacent. Everything's been given to them. They've never had to fight for their opinions. They're always applauded and celebrated as heroes, and they're given medals and awards even when they're complete morons. And they've never had to fight for anything. Even the Democrat voters, many of them are just given food stamps and given welfare checks and just given Obama phones and given housing subsidies. They've never really had to fight for anything except just cast a vote, and then they get all these things. Meanwhile, Republicans over here, they've had to fight for everything. They've had to earn their place in society. They've had to overcome, survive, adapt. And this makes them stronger. This makes them smarter. This makes them, very hard to destroy. I mean, think about how hard the media tried to destroy Donald Trump. It was just week after week after week of him being completely blasted by often just completely made up nonsense or being quoted completely out of context on purpose. And even later on, Washington Post fabricating this crazy story about the Russians hacked the election. Complete nonsense. It was an absolute made up story, and they knew it. They did it on purpose. It was deliberate fiction parading around as news. But Donald Trump had to overcome all of those things. When you wake up and you face adversity every day in your life, and I know this because I've been down a similar path, one of two things happens to you. Either number one, you give up and surrender and curl up into a little ball and try to do Play-Doh sculptures with your hot cocoa. Or secondly, you become stronger. You find that inner determination, that personal fortitude, that will to survive and overcome and do something meaningful with your life. That's where I am. That's where Donald Trump is. That's where many of these people who have been relentlessly attacked year after year after year by the media, by social media, by academia, and so on. Now they are the incredible survivors. They are the achievers. They are the ones who can make America great again. They are the adults in the room. Now, what really drives this point home, by the way, is the fact that when Hillary Clinton lost the election, the Democrats, who have become the party of weakness and, Generation Snowflake, and they have no adaptation skills, they have no ability to overcome anything. They're mentally weak and fragile, really pathetic. I mean, it's the best technical term to describe it. They are, in a political sense, they are going extinct because they cannot survive. So when that news came down that Donald Trump had won the election, many of the people on the political left completely lost it. They snapped. They just, crossed that threshold into extreme mental illness, and that's where they've been ever since. Why is that? Because they never had to overcome anything in their lives. Not really, not anything big. And this is why campuses had to make safe spaces so students could, gather together in their huggy, kissy, safe space, cushy pillows, teddy bears, and fuzzy animal rooms, so they could, support each other emotionally because racist, bigoted, xenophobic, whatever became president. These people are so pathetic and they're so fragile that they will literally die in the first kind of survival scenario that will come to our world, whether we're talking about a natural disaster or a grid down scenario or social chaos, World War III, Civil War, many different scenarios under which these people will literally die because they can't even overcome hearing the name Donald Trump. Some of these students freak out and they think they've been traumatized when they saw Trump's name written in chalk on the sidewalk of their university campus. That's how fragile they are. They are not survivors. And this is really crucial to understand, because when you look at, you've got political survival and political extinction, but you also have natural selection working in the human population as more and more disasters and wars and disease pandemics and so on strike our world. And we're headed into a very, very dangerous time right now, where we're on the verge of possible war with Russia because of Obama and the failed policies of Hillary Clinton and John Kerry and so on. Possibility of future war with China, possibility of widespread crop failures, or the possibility of natural disasters. A grid down scenario stemming from an EMP attack from, let's say, North Korea launching an intercontinental ballistic missile with a high altitude nuclear detonation. Any of these events would thrust the population of North America into an actual survival scenario. And I can guarantee you that most of the people on the left will not physically survive that because they are too mentally fragile. They cannot adapt. They cannot overcome. They really can't even think for themselves. Many of them can't even navigate in their own city without GPS. I mean, except for the routes they usually take: home, work, school, gym, whatever. Outside of that, I'm willing to bet you that most people who live in Los Angeles could not walk out of that city on foot without GPS. They have no idea how to get out of their own city. And they wouldn't survive it. They couldn't possibly walk through the desert and get all the way to, let's say, Arizona or Utah or whatever. Just not capable. Whereas the Donald Trump supporters tend to be very resilient, very adaptable. And a lot of them are into self-reliance. They know how to grow their own food. They know how to take care of themselves. They know how to use firearms for self-defense, for example. They know how to navigate, on foot. They could hike, 100 miles if they had to. And that is a key difference in how these two groups of people look at the world. Democrats tend to want big government because they are completely incapable on their own of doing anything. They have to be constantly rescued, constantly coddled, constantly told what to do. They need the nanny state. They need the police state. They need Obama or Hillary or someone they can worship and praise as a godlike figure to tell them what to do, what to think, how to behave, what to eat, don't have too big of a soda, and so on. Whereas conservatives and libertarians tend to be able to make good, solid decisions on their own. They have good judgment. They tend to have good ethics, good morals. They tend to be able to overcome any kind of obstacles thrown in their way. They can solve problems, which is absolutely crucial for making America great again. You have to be able to solve problems. And they also are willing to stand their ground. They have courage. They have personal fortitude. And that's why you've seen these properties in so many people who are Donald Trump supporters. They refuse to back down even when they're being slandered and defamed and death threatened all over social media. So in summary, the more you understand about natural selection in the political arena, the better you'll be able to grasp what's actually coming and why the Democrats are so delusional and so fragile and so really mentally ill, and why Republicans are going to be able to get so much done. And here's a prediction that once Donald Trump takes office, starting January 2017, he is going to get so much done so quickly that Democrats are going to be absolutely jaw-dropped astonished. They will not understand what's happening. They cannot mentally grasp productivity. The very idea of getting things done quickly and achieving and overcoming obstacles doesn't compute in the mind of a liberal. It just literally does not compute. That's not the way they think. That's not the way they experience the world. It's not the way they see anything. They don't have to accomplish anything. All they have to do is be obedient. That's the only real demand of them. And then all these things come to them, recognition and press coverage or free money, free subsidies, food stamps, whatever. Republicans have had to fight for everything. And so they've had to be very, very efficient and be very smart about getting things done. And that's why when Trump takes office, you're going to see so much happening in terms of reversing bad executive orders of the Obama regime, or passing new legislation to reform America, to change the structure, to bring new capital back into America, maybe $1 trillion or more of business capital that'll be invested in new businesses, new job creation, new factories, new service companies, and so on. See, Democrats see government's job as providing for them. Republicans see government's job as creating a structure where individuals can thrive on their own. That's a key difference to understand. And it's because Democrats see themselves as victims, as weak, virtually extinct species who are being wiped out by predators, and they're unable to escape them, and so they're always victims. They're always victims. Republicans don't see themselves as victims. They see themselves as achievers, people who make history. And this is why Donald Trump has stacked his cabinet with so many highly successful people who are in some cases very, very wealthy. And the left looks at that and says, oh my God, you have a bunch of rich people in your cabinet. You're disconnected, it's just all corrupt. No, Donald Trump is choosing people who have a track record of success. And when you have a track record of success in this society, you tend to attract more financial resources. It's a natural result of doing things well. And so I want people who are in positions of power in the country to be those people who have a track record of real success and real achievement and a real ability to overcome and adapt. Whereas the left just wants academics who are theoreticians, who don't have any actual real world experience. They just have these lunatic theories and ideas and, I don't know, mental models that don't actually work. And if you want to find a bunch of those people, just look at the area of economics. Look at how many PhDs there are in economics who have all these lunatic ideas that don't work. But some of them have won Nobel Prizes for their theories that don't work. I mean, you can't do that in physics. If you're in physics or chemistry, I work a lot in chemistry, you want to win a Nobel Prize, you have to prove that your ideas work. In economics, you don't. They just have to sound good. That's all that's required in economics. Because economics, mostly, it's a con game. I mean, the way it's presented by liberals, I should say. In contrast, Donald Trump understands real economics, understands the curse of compounding debt interest, for example, but also the treasure, if you will, of leveraged growth capital and what that can do for society. So I hope some of this makes sense to you, and I hope this analysis is valuable. It's very important for us to keep in mind that this society will go on far longer than you and I. We are mortal. We come and go, just like those before us. The survival of the human species in a free society is vastly more important than what any one of us could possibly offer society in the era in which we live. This is why educating others about all of this, the truth about liberty and freedom, and why strength and adaptability and resilience and self-reliance are the most important properties for the continuation of the human species. If we go down the road of the political left, we will end up with a planet that looks a lot like North Korea. It will be a totalitarian police state regime run by globalists, dictators, or people like highly corrupt people, Hillary Clinton, George Soros, even Bill Gates, for example, just a corrupt globalist with all kinds of horrific ideas about depopulation and so on. Humanity will be doomed if we follow that track of the political left. But humanity has a chance if we reinforce innovation and entrepreneurism, and we create a society that is structured with the kind of liberty and freedom and economic freedom that allows the geniuses of society to solve big problems. And those big problems, might include, pollution. What can we do about pollution? What can we do about a sustainable food supply, a decentralized food supply? How do we get rid of pesticides and toxic chemicals in the food supply and thus lower cancer rates? How do we grow more food organically using permaculture and things like that? These are big, big issues. You cannot solve those problems when government is dictating to you everything you do from a centrally planned, corrupt system. It doesn't work. The only way to solve big problems in a complex system is to allow each individual node of that system, that means you and me, to have the freedom to act independently in a way that ultimately shares the best solutions with all of society. And that, I think, is what Donald Trump understands. And that concept is completely alien to people on the left. If any of you are leftists watching this, you probably don't even understand what I said. It doesn't compute. That's okay. The truth is, complex systems need decentralized nodes of independent, wise decision makers to make the entire network stronger, which benefits everyone in that system. So the real proper role of government is to create a structure of limited government. It needs to be much smaller than it is right now in the United States, that sets the rules, for example, not allowing corporations to pollute the planet for short-term profit while creating long-term costs and health collapse scenarios. The government has to create rules under which individuals who are strong, who are adaptable, who can survive, create solutions and share them with others. And if you notice, if you look at my work as the health ranger, like my food rising grow system and some of the other 3D printer and other work I've done, that is my philosophy. Solve problems, share that information with others. And one reason why I've been so political lately is because I recognize that liberalism is the single greatest threat to human civilization. Liberalism will destroy humanity if it wins. Defeating liberalism is the most important thing that we can do right now. Defeating liberalism is the only way that we can create the kind of liberty and freedom that can lead to the kind of innovation that solves big problems for the long term for human civilization. So I know that's a lot to cover, but I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your interest, for tuning in. I really care about this planet. I care about the environment, and I care about the human beings that live in it. I care about the animals, the ecosystems, the food supply, all of that. And I truly believe that Hillary Clinton would have destroyed our freedoms and really destroyed our society. So I'm glad to see Donald Trump in office, and I hope that you will join me in supporting him to truly, as adults, as entrepreneurs and innovators, help make America great again. He's probably our very last chance to make that happen. So let's support him. Let's watch him. Let's hold his feet to the fire also, right? Let's keep him honest and accountable. But let's also help him by being the best that we can be as individuals and helping those around us who need our help. Thank you for watching. My name is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. If you'd like to help support this video and other videos like this, visit healthrangerstore.com, where everything we sell is laboratory tested for heavy metals and more. You'll find superfoods, storable survival foods, nutritional supplements, and a full line of synthetic chemical-free body soaps, shampoos, and oral care products. Everything we sell is non-GMO, and it's all completely free of chemical sweeteners, artificial colors, hydrogenated oils, and other toxic ingredients that you want to avoid. Find all this and much more at healthrangerstore.com.